Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Life and Sports Spotlight with Cameron Knox. And I'm finally back. You know, I've been gone a couple few weeks, settling to school, being back uh here in Kansas. And I've had some couple weeks to settle in and now back to talk, some sports. College football is underway now, so we'll hit some of that stuff. NFL starts today's Wednesday, so starts tomorrow, Thursday night, with a fun matchup between two top AFC teams, hopefully. And then yeah, we'll get into that. But first off, uh I'll go into some college football. So last week, um, we got, everyone played. There was some good matchups. We got Colorado and North Dakota State. We got to see Michigan and Fresno State, Georgia, Clemson, um, USC making a big win over LSU. That was a big statement win for them. They're good Big Ten, their first game in the Big Ten. Not a Big Ten opponent, but LSU being an SEC opponent, that's a big win for them. Um, yeah, so some teams that looked good, Texas beating, Colorado State, Quinn Ewers had a game, such a blowout that Arch Manning, we were able to see him get some run and he scored a touchdown. Um, Ohio State, they started off a little slow, but then they got going, with the freshman, Will Howard's first game at Ohio State. He looked really good, leaving Kansas State, coming over to Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith, the freshman receiver, had, I believe, two touchdowns after dropping his first pass. But, that's a little jitters, but, big time players make big time plays. And so that's what he did. Alabama looked really good. I mean, these guys really didn't play anybody, but like, most of those top teams when they play lower teams, sometimes they could step down to their competition. And I think those teams really didn't at all. And they showed why they're top teams. You know, Going back to freshman receivers, Alabama has one, and Ryan Williams, another great day for him. Those first collegiate games, I can imagine can be rough, but they actually bounced back and had a really good game. Um, and then Ole Miss looked good. Jackson Dart, all these quarterbacks are like, Heisman candidate guys, and they played up to it. Even no matter the competition. But yeah, they looked really good as well. Ole Miss, I think it was like 76-0. That's crazy. And then also Miami beating Florida, a little rivalry game. Florida, Miami. Cam Ward looked really great in his Miami debut. Florida, ooh, rough start, but I can't even make any excuses for them because they're an SEC team. Not saying, and they have the hardest schedule. Not saying that your SEC team you beat anybody you play against, but like it's not looking good for them. But some teams that looked kind of rough. Oregon, their first game, Dylan Gabriel had good stats, but check downs. It just didn't look like the typical Oregon offense that you've seen the last few years from like between Bo Nix and then before that with Justin Herbert. And it just didn't look like your typical Oregon offense. So it was a little down, but I think they'll bounce back. They have a big matchup this weekend with Boise State. We'll get into that a little more, but yeah, it's always tough. Your first game, new team. Um, like I said, he didn't look bad. It's just what not what people expected to see from Oregon. They barely win, or not barely, but like 10 points, like to a Idaho team that people considered was going to be a blowout. Um, and then Michigan, they looked iffy. Like, you lose your head coach, you lose your starting quarterback, you lose your starting running back, you lose your top receiver. Like, you know, that's gonna happen. You're gonna look a little sloppy. And that's kind of what it looked like. They scored the first possession, Donovan Edwards touchdown, but after that, it just didn't look like Michigan until about maybe the final drive of the game. They kind of looked like that smash mouth Michigan football team. Um, it's just, it's going to take time. They have a, the biggest matchup, I think. I won't say of the year, but probably for them against Texas, another last year college football playoff team. Um, they won. Michigan obviously won the title, but you lose your head coach, and then all those other guys that stated. Um, it's going to be hard, but at least they have the advantage of it being at their house. It's at the big house. Um, it's going to be rocking. It's a college game day is going to be there. It's going to be big moon kickoff, like everything you can imagine. It's going to be that. Also, Georgia, I won't say they looked iffy, but they didn't start off as hot as you would imagine a Georgia team to start off. Honestly, I think that they missed a few players, like Trevor Etienne didn't play. Um, yeah, and I think they were missing a few other guys, few running backs, including him, a few receiver guys. So I mean, they eventually came out and won, but it just didn't look as good. Clemson also a ranked team, so they're no like pushover. So that's the reason why. But for the number one team in the nation, you know, it could have been a better looking effort and win, I believe. Um, then some players that looked really, really good last week. T Mac, Tesoren McMillan from Arizona, um, 10 catches, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns on New Mexico. Um, yeah, but that's I've played against him, and he's probably one of the better players I've ever seen in my life that I've gone against. And so he's a freak of nature. He's every he's every bit of how advertised, and he's just a freak. And you know, a lot of those passes, people say he's wide open, but you still got to get the ball there. You still got to catch it. But I'm not saying like it's like a no one guarded him. Like a couple of guys fell over, but hey, that's what happens when you're a Division 1 player. You got to do something to guard that. Also, Ashton Genty from Boise State, and that's what I was talking about. Oregon not really having a good game, and then now they have to go against a guy who just scored 6 touchdowns on Georgia Southern. Got 267 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. It's insane for a Division 1 football player, and you know obviously Boise State, no one's going to really talk about them, even though they could easily get into college football playoffs. Looking at, the group of 5 that they could easily get into college football playoffs, but how that goes. You know, Also Cam Ward, I spoke of from Miami, had a great game against a great SEC team, Florida defense. he went 26 for 35, 385 for 3 touchdowns. That's a great way to start a debut for for a Miami team that has high expectations, especially in the ACC now that Florida State has already started 0-2 against two other ACC teams. And, you know, it was kind of looking like Florida State, Clemson, but Miami's right there as well. Florida State probably maybe a drop off now. They're already out of the top 25 after 0-2 start, starting at number 10. I won't speak on DJ because I think he's getting enough criticism already, and that's nothing for me to say. That's just something he has to deal with. Hopefully, he fixes that. Florida State gets going as more ACC games going on. Hopefully, he bounce back. But it's tough when you lost to two unranked teams and you're the number 10 team in the nation, and you start your season off, in Dublin, Ireland, and you think, oh, ACC matchup. I won't say easy win, but it's a win set up for you, and you go out and don't perform like the way you're supposed to, and then bounce back. You play Monday night, you know, football on college on ESPN. You're the only game again, and you don't do succeed again. It's rough, and only he has to deal with that, and then his team has to bounce back, and it's only up for them because you know that's going to be rough for the ACC rankings now for them, and getting back in that 25, it's going to be hard. So then this weekend, September 6th, 7th, I can't remember, but some top matchups this weekend for sure. Obviously, I went through a little bit, but that Texas and Michigan at Michigan, ooh, that's going to be, one of the probably the best game. Michigan really, I think, has to bounce back from that up and down game between Fresno State, because Texas looked great. Like they looked like a bona fide top 1, 2. They're ranked 3, but that top 1 to 3 team. And Quinn Ewers, he's got some new weapons. Isaiah Bond, with Steve Sarkisian still calling plays. He's been in the system for about 3 years now. So it's like, it's a matter of time for them to push that line, because this is his last year. Arch is waiting on his time, and this has got to be the year they finally do something, because they're in the SEC now. They're playing the top of the top. Not that they were in the Big 12, but like it's gonna be hard for them now to get to that line. But I feel like this is the team that could probably do it. Not saying, Georgia's there still. They're still one. It's other than Alabama, we still haven't seen anyone that really can beat this Georgia team. I mean, Georgia really looks good. But I think Texas can be one of those teams that can knock them off. And I'm not even speaking on Big Ten yet, because Oregon, Ohio State as well can intertwine into that, winning the college football playoffs as well. But I think just between the SEC alone, like who's going to get it? Like I said, we have to see who's going to finally get over the hump to beat Georgia. I think obviously Texas is there. We've seen some greatness from Alabama, Jalen Milroe. He's, post Nick Saban, he got Kalen DeBoer now. We'll see what they can do. And then as well as Ole Miss, like Ole Miss is just as good as the rest, but I think they finally have, like I said, like Texas, I think they're pushing that limit, like where they need to get over that hump. I think they finally have one of the better SEC teams that can compete with the Georgia and Alabamas. I think last year they looked really good as well, but it's hard to beat Georgia and Alabama, um, especially when you don't have the big guys, the big O line and big D line, and that just like them. I think this is the year they finally had that, and they can match up really well with those teams. And then going on to Tennessee and NC North Carolina State, I think that's going to be a really good game. We've seen what Nico did against who they played. I can't remember, but we've seen what he did. Chattanooga, that's who they played. Chattanooga. We've seen what they did. What he did. He looked really good. This is that was his you know, one of his first career starts. I can't remember if he started a game last year, but he finally. I'll say he has the keys now. Um, so it's his time to show. They're a top SEC team, and we'll see how that goes. They have that's another big ACC opponent, North Carolina State. You know, ACC is really like one of those top conferences. Not like I think everyone knows that, but like they actually have a lot of talent. Now with Miami bouncing back and Clemson hopefully getting back to their winning ways. And then obviously they lost to Georgia, but they're still a top ACC team. I mean, Miami, Georgia Tech. I mean, what do you like? They beat Florida State. Like that's a big win for them, and that can only give them all the momentum in the world. They're 2-0 now, and then obviously, how you can see Boston College, Bill O'Brien, if you see if he can get them rolling and possibly compete. Louisville, I think they may may have a chance, but with those top teams, it's just hard. And then Florida State, I think they're just having a rough time flipping the page from Travis, Jordan Travis, and then now coming over to DJ. I think it's just they're having a hard time adjusting. But I think as more games go on, they could probably get themselves back in. Who knows? And then I think the last top three matchup of this weekend is going to be that Colorado and Nebraska game. Obviously, we've seen them play last season, bring that rivalry back. You know, Colorado came out with that win, but it's a new team in Nebraska and Lincoln. Um, it's going to be a great matchup because Dylan Raiola, he had his first career start against a not so good UTEP team, and we saw what he did. But now it's time to face a really, really, I don't want to call him mediocre, but how that could go. Media loves Colorado, but we'll see. I want to see them play this game. This game is what's gonna show a lot of people what kind of team this Colorado team is because um, it's in Nebraska, that stadium. They probably have the best fan base in the country, or at least one of them. And it's going to be hard facing that team in their home, in their house. So that's going to be a fun one. We've seen what Travis Hunter can do, 3 touchdowns against a really, really good FCS team. I think that was a great season opener for them to see, to lay down another season of seeing what they could do against, FBS teams in the Big 12. I think they're going to have, me personally, I think Colorado's going to have a rough year in the Big 12 because they face the better teams there. They get Kansas State, they get Kansas, they get Oklahoma State, they get Utah, they get UCF. UCF is really, really good team with a transfer quarterback KJ Jefferson. So that's going to be a really, really good. It's going to be a really, really good matchup of games this weekend. It's going to see where a lot of teams are, especially Michigan, because, like you said, that top 10 matchup, Michigan going down to 10 after being 9 in the pre-ranking polls, preseason polls. But other than that, I think, the other top teams really don't have good games. But it's going to be fun to see what Notre Dame does. I really like that team. I like Marcus Freeman as a coach. They beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Like I said, that's another big place. Like a Nebraska that has great fans. You know, that's going to be another good team to watch out for. And then as well, I'm gonna go through my preseason or not preseason because the games have started, but I'm gonna pick my winners of the top conferences. I'll say. So SEC, that's gonna be tough because, like I said, it's gonna be hard to see. It's gonna be fun to see who could finally get over the hump to beat Georgia. But as of right now, I still got Georgia to win the SEC. I think it's going to be a battle, obviously, especially that Georgia Alabama game. That's going to be a fun one. But I still got Georgia winning the SEC. In the Big Ten, the Big Ten is probably the toughest pick, like winner to pick because they've got some new teams. Between Oregon and I don't want to put in USC. They had a really big win, but I don't want to put that pressure on them yet. Um, but I would love to see what they could do. They play some really good teams. I think they won. I think they play Michigan next week at Michigan. So that's going to be a fun one to see their first Big Ten opponent away in September. Um, they're not used to this at all. That traveling from, the West Coast to Midwest to, they're just not used to it. So that's going to be a fun thing to see. But Big Ten, I think I'm a pick. I think I'm a roll with Ohio State, but I really like Oregon. I really think they have a chance. And October 12th, that's going to be the matchup to see because we may get it again. The first time is always just you get the taste of what you're going to see. And then that second matchup, possibly in the Big Ten championship or in the football playoffs, college football playoffs. So we might see this matchup 1 to 2 to 3 times. Who knows? ACC, I think I'm gonna go Miami. Miami, they look really good. I think will sort of stay really declining. They have a chance to really go get that win, go get that conference championship. So that'd be a fun one to see as well. And then the Big 12, I'm going Utah. That's as easy as it comes. Me personally, because I really like Utah. I've grown up to kind of like Utah, and I think this is, like I said, one of those teams that are knocking. They've been at the door at a few times at the Rose Bowl game, losing Ohio State, losing to Penn State, winning the Pac-12 championship back-to-back years. But I feel like them coming into a new conference, it's finally their time to get into that playoffs, like they haven't before, But this one's going to be fun because there are the newer teams that are looking like the clear cut top teams. I won't say all of them, but Utah being at the top for me, Arizona being in the mix, because of that electric offense. And then K State, Kansas State, kind of being in there because they they look good because they have a really good quarterback, but he's a like freshman type of quarterback or sophomore, whatever you want to call it. He's been there, but he finally has the keys, like I mentioned to Nico at Tennessee. But that's going to be a good one too because they look good. Kansas looks good. Jalen Daniels is back, healthy, hopefully. But we always see him the first few games, and then it's like, where did Kansas go? Um, but that's a good matchup for them this week in Illinois as well, at Illinois, I think. And then Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, I think, has one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12. So, and then pair that with one of the best running backs in college football, Ollie Gordon. And then you put those two together and they can easily just run the ball on you with a veteran quarterback, and they look amazing as well. Um, UCF, I mentioned, have a new quarterback. I don't know much about them. Um, and then people want to say Colorado. Colorado's in there for some people. I don't know if they're in there for me yet. Like I said, I want to see the Nebraska matchup. Uh, but all in all, I'm going Utah to win the Big 12, and then them. That puts Georgia, Ohio State, Miami, Utah, in the college football playoff as buys. Um, yeah, I think those are my matchups. Good matchups, good picks. Yeah, so let's transition a little bit over to some NFL. Uh, we have the first game tomorrow between Ravens and Chiefs. You know, the rematch of the AFC Championship game. Obviously, this time it's at Arrowhead, not at in Baltimore. Um, so I always like to uh, pick against the Super Bowl champions because you're just tired of seeing them. And I really am tired of seeing the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's not even a knock to the greatness of that team, but it's really really annoying. And I'm saying this as a Steelers fan who is a rival of the Ravens, but I'm just really really tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey are not knocking greatness either. I'm gonna say that, but we seen what the Lions did last year, went into their house and beat them. Obviously, it didn't matter because they won another Super Bowl. Super Bowl, but um, hey, I think the Ravens put up a fight. Lamar is really really hungry. He's coming back off another MVP season, but he really wants a Super Bowl. Um, and I think this could be the season he gets there. It just all depends on, again, his health because it's always something. Obviously, he had a healthier season last year, but it's always something once you get to the middle pack of the NFL season where it's like Lamar Jackson is not nowhere to be found because he's always dealing with this illness or just something. We've seen some ankle issues, I think, in the past, but you know, for that's going to be a good game. We'll preview, probably maybe another AFC Championship matchup. Um, that's going to be fun. Um, so I'm gonna make the picks for this week's games. So tomorrow night, um, I think I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. You know, as much as I said, as much as Lamar's hungry, Patrick Mahomes is even hungrier because he wants that three-peat, just like all his teammates that have been on the past couple teams. I think they get it done. I think this is going to be a statement first win for them. Uh, so I just hope it's a good game. I don't care who wins because I'm a Steelers fan, and we'll get into that. But I just hope for a good game. Then Friday night we got Packers and Eagles in Brazil on a Friday night to open off, you know, their season. Eagles bouncing back off of wonky end of the year. They lose Jason Kelsey to retirement. Packers had a great season, um, great postseason run where they beat the Cowboys, almost knock off the Niners in San Fran. I think they have high expectations for them. I don't know if it's too much for them, but I know they can handle it. I really like Jordan Love. Jordan Love got paid this offseason, so he's got to prove to the Green Bay fans and the team that he is quarterback one for years to come. So actually, I'm gonna go Packers that game. I think they need a statement win start the season off against a really good NFC opponent. That's gonna be a fun one as well in Brazil Friday night. Then we got Steelers Falcons. Obviously, I'm gonna go Steelers because that's my team, and I think just like any other team, they have a lot to prove because they've been criticized all off season about how um, their quarterback play really went. They go get Russell Wilson, they go get Justin Fields, but it's hard to really say you upgraded because, you didn't make a splash in the receiver room like we thought we were. We thought we were going to get Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, he stays in with the Niners, but I think George Pickens, this is the year for him. Obviously, we've seen him play tremendous his first 2 years, but this third season, I think it's the breakout year that we see, a lot from him, uh, a lot from Najee. Najee, the Steelers declined his fifth year, but I think he's going to look really good paired next to Jalen Warren for a third year um, with a revamped O line. Um, we it's looking great defensively. We've always had a pretty good defense. TJ Watt, Mika, finally healthy. We get with the addition of Patrick Queen. That's a great get from the Baltimore Ravens. And then re-signed Cam Hayward yesterday. And then, the second year of Joey Porter Jr., the only corner I can think of right now on that team because that's been on a rough stretch for us as well. But one thing I have faith in is the defense because I think we've always been held accountable to us winning games when TJ Watt is in the lineup and he's healthy. So I think we go get a really good Falcons team in Atlanta. And then we got Miami. Oh, check that. Buffalo and Cardinals. Cardinals really, I don't think I think they're still a lower league team, but I don't think they're a bottom team. They go get Barbara Harrison Jr., one of the best, you know, looking wide receivers we've seen in a very long time coming into the NFL, coming from Ohio State. And I really think he's going to look good in that offense next to, Trey McBride at tight end. With James Conner at running back, Kyler Murray throwing the ball. Kyler Murray's finally he got the off season where he's healthy. He can come in, coming off that torn ACL, and I think he's going to look really good. And then Buffalo, They lose Stephon Diggs. So this is going to be one of those matchups where it's going to look crazy, I think, in the beginning. But I think Buffalo pulls it out. You know, they lose, like I said, they lose Stephon Diggs, but they still have Josh Allen. They still have James Cook. Those two together are really dynamic. Um, they go get Keon Coleman in the draft from Florida State, and I think they'll ultimately look good. Don Kincaid, the Utah guy, of course. Um, he had a really big rookie year, and I think this is going to be the breakout year because I feel like there's no other person that can go get that Josh Allen can deliver the ball to. But that's going to be a good game in Buffalo, and then we get Tennessee and Chicago Bears. I feel like this is one of those games where it's like a pick me, like pick pick game. Like it's hard to pick. Um, Bears really had a great off season, and Tennessee did as well because they go get, you know, Calvin Ridley, D Hop's back. They go get Tony Pollard. They go get a new head coach. And then D Hop. Um, I think they both had relatively really good off seasons, and I think in that case, that's one of those games where it's like who really can win, and I think you see obviously you see what teams really can be with their first games. You see what they look like, but I think I'm gonna go Chicago. They're at home. Excuse me, they're at home, and rookie wide receiver Roma Dunze, rookie quarterback Caleb Williams with a revamped kind of looking O line with new signees, DeAndre Swift. You go pay DJ Moore, you get Keenan Allen. Like that's really a great offseason offensively. So we'll see how that goes. But I think the Bears pull it out at home, get Caleb Williams a big win, his big first win. And yeah, uh, Bengals and Patriots, and Cincy, another game where I just feel like Cincinnati is going to roll over New England. I'm so sorry, but it's just the way um, how it's going in New England. Bill Belichick is gone. Gerard Mayo's there now. And I think Cincinnati, they're another team like I referred to college football now in the NFL. They've been knocking on that door. Um, Joe Burrow, he's healthy now. It's always about health with these AFC teams. I feel like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are always there, but I feel like it's always Burrow and Lamar, like those AFC North teams that can get in and compete. But it's like, where's the quarterback? Like even last year with the Steelers, like going against the Buffalo Bills, like Kenny Pickett, that he didn't come out with good, like great for that team. And then Mason Rudolph is in there, and it's like Mitchell Trubisky, a veteran, like why isn't he in? It's like it's always those quarterbacks for the AFC North teams. I feel like that's a big issue, but they have one of the better quarterback divisions, and I really hope one team from that division can pull it out and finally get over the hump to beat the Chiefs. Hopefully, I hope it's the Steelers, but you never really know. But I'm go back, and even without if Jamar Chase does not play, I think Bengals still roll over the Patriots because of T. Higgins, Chase Brown, Zach Moss, another Utah guy, and I think they just have a lot to prove, especially with Joe Burrow back. Um, then we go uh, Texans, Colts, big AFC South game. We've seen what CJ Stroud did his rookie year. Um, I think he's gonna bounce back and have an even better season, MVP like season. Um, Anthony Richardson played 2, 3 games last year, but I think, he's going to bounce back and hopefully get that AFC South Colts team rolling. But I got the Texans easily. They've, like talking about all season, I think they had maybe the best one, or one of them. They go get Stephon Diggs from the Bills. Nico Collins had a great year. Tank Dell, he's back healthy. Um, After breaking his leg and then getting shot as well. And then yeah, I think they had one of the better off seasons, best off seasons, you can say, maybe even. So I think they win that game in Indianapolis. Um, and then we go Jaguars, Dolphins, in Miami. I think that's one of those games like I picked for the Titans and Bears is like a pick me game. Uh, but I think I'm gonna go Dolphins. Jags had a pretty good offseason getting Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr. in the draft from LSU. Um, I think they have potential to be a great offense. Their defense is really good. The Hines Allen, Josh Hines Allen, um, or Allen's Hines, can't remember. They have really good linebackers. And then even for Miami, I think, just still having, the resurgence of A-Chain last year in his rookie year, he looked really good. He's back healthy. Raheem Mostert's still there. Tyreek Hill is obviously one of the best receivers, if not the best, debatable uh, for some people. He's there as well. And then, Jalen Waddle, one of the better wide receiver twos. I hate that I didn't go much detail into the Eagles, but even Devontae Smith is up there. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Miami and Miami. Um, and one of probably the worst matchup of the week, um, Panthers Saints, in New Orleans. I think I'm gonna just go with the Saints. Panthers. Uh, they're a rough team, but they can get Xavier Legette in the draft from South Carolina. It's just something you got to see from them. You got to sadly watch NFC South football, other than the Saints. I mean, other than, excuse me, the Bucks and the Falcons. It's sad you got to watch the Panthers and Saints play football. But Saints, I'm gonna go. I don't even want to get into that game, but I'm gonna go Saints. Then Vikings, Giants, another weird matchup in New York or New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. Justin Jefferson got paid. Uh, they lose JJ McCarthy to a torn meniscus, so Sam Darnold's the starting quarterback. Uh, Jordan Addison's there, I believe. I think he's playing. TJ Hawkinson's out. I think on IR for the first few weeks, so he won't be there. But ultimately, I think Vikings beat the Giants, even though Giants go get one of the, like I mentioned, to Marvin Harrison Jr. in Arizona, but Malik Neighbors, one of the, I think he should have won Bolindikoff last year. That's a debate for past since, but um, yeah, I just think Daniel Jones is not the quarterback for the Giants, but they paid him $40 million a year, so they got to make it happen. He's got to make it happen. They sadly paid him, so there goes that. And then Raiders, Chargers. We see a new revamped teams on both sides. Two coaches. Jim Harbaugh coming back from the college ranks, from Michigan, and Antonio Pierce. He's taking over the team now, after taking the interim tackle. Um, I really just think that's a game where we see who can maybe be that second team to the Chiefs in the AFC West. And I think the AFC West is locked. It's Chiefs, especially with the changes to both teams. I won't count out Denver, but that defense of Denver, other than Pat Surtain, is really, really hard to watch. Um, but yeah, Raiders coming in with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, Zamir White, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and then they go get Brock Bowers in the draft, and he put him next to Michael Mayer. That's a good two tight end bunch you have, along with those receivers, and then Max Crosby, obviously a top five defensive player or edge rusher, I'll say, in the NFL. But that's a hard game to Justin Herbert. He's been out most of the offseason. Um, and then they get Lat McConkey in the draft from Georgia. They lose Keenan Allen. They trade him. Joshua Palmer's still there. They go get new running backs after losing Eckler, Gus Edwards, and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins coming off a torn Achilles. So really Gus Edwards really probably holding down that starting running back. And we know Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball. That's the reason why they picked Joe Alt over Malik Neighbors in the draft. Um, yeah, that's going to really be hard to watch that game, but I think that's going to be the focal point to see who is that second team to the Chiefs in AFC West. Um, it's going to be in Inglewood at SoFi, so that's going to be a big afternoon game. Um, and then going back to Denver, they play Seattle. I think that's going to be a really good game. Bo Nix getting the starting job as a rookie. And then Geno Smith. I think Seahawks win this game. Um, they go get a new head coach, and the Ravens' old defensive coordinator, who I've watched a lot of. He's a really good coach, really good defensive guy. Um, but offensively, I think they have the advantage on that defense. Like I said, that defense is hard to watch other than Patrick Surtain. So seeing DK Metcalf versus Pat Surtain, or even Jackson Smith, Najigba, Tyler Lockett, those are gonna be some good. That's gonna be must see TV. But I think Seattle pulls it out. They've looked. I think um, Geno Smith is going to have another good season relatively compared to, you know, the NFC West looking really, really, really good. We'll get into the Rams and Lions matchup, but that's going to be a really good division. I think the Niners maybe take it. The Rams are always there. So, yeah, I think Seattle wins that game. And then let's go into the big, big game of the afternoon window. The Cowboys and Cleveland Browns in that um, late afternoon Fox game. I think this is another game where it's a pick 'em. I think I'm gonna go with Dallas though, not because it's an AFC North Cleveland Brown team, but I think Dallas, them going to pay CD Lamb and then Dak Prescott, he's not been healthy this offseason. They're kind of, he's trying to get paid as well. Um, that running back room is looking very nasty, with Zeke Elliott, Deuce Vaughn, Rico Dow, probably getting that starting spot, Rico. Um, but CD, Jake Ferguson, um, and Brandon Cooks, I think they ultimately get it going. Cleveland, we've seen that really good defense of theirs. They really had a good year. Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year, even though he shouldn't have. Um, yes, TJ Watt should have won. besides the point. Um, but that's a really good defense. But I think Dallas wins. And then three more matchups. But we got Commanders and Buccaneers. Buccaneers are going to win this game in Tampa Bay. I just think Baker Mayfield's coming off to getting paid this offseason after having a pretty good year. I think he had a really good season. He's gonna have Mike Evans back. He's gonna have Chris Godwin, Otten as the tight end, and then Zamir White. Yeah, I just think they are going to look really good against that Commanders defense, even though they go get the ODC from Cowboys, Dan Quinn. He's a defensive coach, but I think they're going to look really good. I hope to Jaden Daniels really has a good first game, with Terry McLaurin. They trade Jahan Dotson. That was probably going to be their receiver too. They trade him to Philadelphia. But now maybe Luke McCaffrey steps up, Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, those guys. I think that's gonna be I think they're not gonna be good, but I think there's gonna be a fun offense to watch because of the weapons he has. Rookie Luke McCaffrey and then rookie Jaden Daniels, but he has a lot of veterans around him. The Terrys, the Austin Ecklers, and then Brian Robinson is his second year, third year. I can't remember, but he's been in the league, and I think that's going to be a fun offense to watch. I think with Cliff Kingsbury as the OC, we've seen what he did to transform Kyler Murray um, in Arizona some years ago. Um, so I think that's going to be a fun game. And then probably the matchup of the week, uh, the two matchups of the week, I'll say, because we haven't got to the last Monday night football game, but the Rams and Lions. We got a preview of that in the playoffs last year. We seen, Matt Stafford go back to Detroit and almost beat the Lions. We seen what the Lions did. The Lions, they're a Super Bowl contender, obviously, easily a Super Bowl contender. And I think what they did last year, choking in the NFC Championship game, they're hungry, and I think they have a chance to go and beat a San Francisco 49er team, a Philadelphia Eagle team, a Dallas Cowboy team, a um, Green Bay Packer team. Like, obviously we get to see that matchup two times because they're in the same division. So ultimately we will get to see those top teams. But this is a hard one, but I think I'm gonna go with Detroit because of what happened to them in their last game last season. Amon Ra go gets paid, Jared Goff gets paid, you know, uh Jameer Gibbs coming off a little hamstring issue the past few weeks, but I think he'll come out and look good. David Montgomery, their power back, and not even to mention Sam Laporta, as as I mentioned, the Don Kincaid. They really had good. He really had a great rookie year, um, and I would love to see what he can do in that offense for his second year with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's easily a head coach. This is probably his last year in Detroit. Um, who knows where he goes, but he won't be an offense coordinator for long. Um, we thought he was going to go this year, but he stays another year because, like I said, they have something to prove. They have to get over that hump that they got to get over. After choking that NFC Championship game. And then the last matchup of the week, Jets, Niners, and San Fran. I think this is a great way to end week one. Aaron Rodgers, we seen what happened 4 plays into last year. And then we had a saga of a lot of drama and just craziness in San Francisco this offseason. Probably one of the craziest teams of off seasons of all time, you know, between Brandon Ayuk, between Trent Williams, between Ricky Pearsall now. Like I won't get into that, but um they're I think they're the number one team that has something to prove. They can't get over that hump. They're at the hump, but they can't get over it. Like my sister's gonna hate me for this because she's a big 49ers fan, but I think this is one if they last, not if the one if not the last years for them to finally get over that hump. They've paid everybody in the book. They've had it's yeah, Brock Purdy, MVP type guy. Maybe could have won last year until they collapsed against the Ravens on Christmas Day. But this is the team that's this is the biggest what if team because this is the team that has to finally beat the best team. I think they are the best team, but they're beating themselves. I think they're beating their best team. They're beating themselves. They're losing to a really good Kansas City Chiefs team. Don't get me wrong, but they're losing to themselves. They have everything you think of: all pro receiver, all pro running back, the best running back in the NFL, one of the best route runner. They re-signed Brandon Ayuk back. One of the best running back, wide receiver, anything you need him to do. Debo Samuel, one of the best tight ends, George Kittle, the best left tackle, Trent Williams. They have the team to win the Super Bowl the last 3 years, but between injuries, between them beating themselves, between you know missed opportunities against that in the Rams game. Like I hate to bring this stuff up, but I think this is the team that has to get over the hump and win the Super Bowl. And I think this is how they go blow out the New York Jets. They have to. They have to. Uh, their defense is phenomenal. I think they're all, the only thing that sucks about that is they're on their third DC in about the same amount of years, between D'Amico Ryans, um, Steve Wilkes, and then I don't know who their guy is now, but he's not Steve Wilkes. So it's 3 years now with the new DC. I think that's the turning point that they need. Um, but yeah, they got to get over that hump. So the NFL is going to be fun this season. I love to pick the winners of this week. But now let's get into who I think are going to win the MVP or like the awards. So MVP, Lamar is going to have a great year, but I think I'm gonna go with CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's going to win MVP. I think he has the weapons across the board. Great receivers and Tank, Dale, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, great tight end, Dalton Schultz, great running back, Joe Mixon now, he can get it out to the into from the backfield, and then Damian Pierce as well. Offensive player of the year, I think we get um, another Christian McCaffrey year. Um, that guy's crazy, unstoppable. But I think this is going to be the year he really can probably show himself as one of the best running backs ever. Defensive player of the year. This is a biased pick, but I really believe he's the best defensive player in the NFL right now, and that's TJ Watt. The numbers don't lie. Um, forget all that PFF crap. I think TJ Watt is easily the best defense player in the NFL, and he should have 3 defensive player of the years. He got robbed twice. He only has one. He's been robbed twice. He should be going for his fourth, and being up there with his brother. But you know, how that goes with the politics. I think Miles Garrett really is a really great defender. I think Micah Parsons a really great defender. Max Crosby, really great defender, edge rusher. I mean, but like they really go to edge rushers. Um, but I think TJ Watt is the best, and that's not even to have any bias. I think if I was any other fan, I would believe so. Comeback player of the year. Um, there's not many players I could think of. Uh, Joey Joe Burrow, I think, really gets the nod there. Um, I think he's gonna have his guy back ultimately. Jamar's gonna get paid maybe tomorrow, Thursday, maybe Friday, so he can play Sunday against the Patriots. I don't think they need him, but I think they need him for the season. And I think he ultimately gets paid, and he's going to get that comeback player of the year. But I think a guy who really is a sleeper pick for that is Anthony Richardson, because he has really good talent around him as well, with a really good Shane Steichen coach, with Michael Pittman and Downs and whoever else is there. I can't think right now. Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, coach of the year. Kevin Stefanski won last year, which was a good pick. But I think D'Amico Ryan goes to get that this year. Um, with that really good Texans team, revamped offense, revamped defense, or reloaded, I should say. They reloaded offense, reloaded defense. They go get Daniil Hunter, with Will and Anderson, Stingley, Petrie, Jimmy Ward. That's a really good defense and offense. And the offensive rookie of the year, I think Marvin Harrison gets that, but don't be surprised if we see a really good season from Malik Neighbors or even Caleb Williams. Um, because we've seen, Caleb Williams, what he can do. Um, but I think Marvin Harrison, between him and Kyler Murray, they really get that done. Um, but not sleepers, but other players, Caleb Williams, Malik Neighbors. Um, yeah. And then defensive rookie of the year. This one's kind of hard because we didn't see a defensive player get picked until pick 15, like Leatu Latu to go to the Colts. But I really think he has a good chance of winning. But even Peyton Wilson from the Pittsburgh Steelers, a great linebacker, if he gets the playing time, I think he has a lock to potentially get it. But I think I'm gonna go Leatu Latu, with a good chance of winning. But don't knock the corners, Cooper DeJean and Philly. The Wiggins guy, I think that's in Baltimore. I think he looked really good in the preseason game that I seen. Those are good locks too, but it just all depends on who comes out healthy and stuff like that. But other than that, I think we had a really good. I got my point across on a lot of stuff today. It's probably going to be one of my longer episodes, like longest episodes for sure. But I think it was a good opportunity for me to just talk sports and not like interview someone. But I hope you guys like this type of format. I'm gonna come back, hopefully maybe drop interviews and stuff like this. So we'll see in the future, next few weeks, get it going, come back into this stuff. Now that I'm comfortable and back here in college and school and stuff. So thank you guys for watching another episode of Life and Sports Spotlight with Cameron Knox, and see you guys next week.